I've gained a lot of good friends in the last couple of years who are depending on stem cell research. When the governor of the state of Wisconsin says he wants to stop stem cell research, I think it's time to tell him to get out of the way, because science should not be stopped for politics, and we ought to be doing everything we can to take care of people who would benefit from cures to those tough diseases. So thank you. I'm not sure that I've ever had the great pleasure of introducing Tammy when she wasn't a candidate. Maybe. And she has won, and she has won, and she has won, and she is one tremendous human being, and somebody we greatly respect, who is now going to run for another office. And I'd like you to welcome Tammy Baldwin.
Thank you. My fellow progressives, thank you so much. Thank you for coming together once again in the name and in the great fighting spirit of Bob La Follette. And thank you, Ed Garvey, for bringing us all together. You and Dave Zwiefel have never let us forget the ideas and the ideals that Fighting Bob brought to our state and our entire nation. And we owe you a great debt of gratitude. Of course, we all know that the best way to repay that debt is to carry the spirit of Fighting Bob and Belle Case La Follette with us each day, and to act as they acted, to protect all the middle-class families who work hard and play by the rules and deserve respect and a fair shake. We came together a year ago in Baraboo, and when we did, our nation and our state were in a very different place. We were heralding the enactment of landmark health reform legislation that would benefit millions of Americans. And we were also approaching the midterm elections. And I said at the time last year, in this midterm we have a choice: to continue moving forward, to continue cleaning up the mess we were left, or to give power to those who would move us backward. Despite all our efforts, our worst fears were realized. Our new Wisconsin governor and legislature took just 6 weeks to dismantle 6 decades worth of historic progress in our state. How painful it was, and how painful it still is, to see the full assault on workers' rights here in Wisconsin, in the state that was the very first to grant collective bargaining rights to public service sector workers, in the state that invented workers' compensation and the first to pass unemployment compensation laws. How offensive it was to see teachers laid off and schools closed down in this, one of the very first states in the country to write into its constitution the guarantee that all children should have access to a free and quality public education. How shameful it is to now require voter identification cards for which the state charges fees without publicizing that they can be had for free in this, the first state in the Union that ratified the constitutional amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote. How shameful this all is. My fellow progressives, don't let anyone tell you that elections don't matter. Don't let anyone tell you that your vote doesn't count. We are at a fork in the road, and what we do in the next 15 months will determine our destiny for generations to come. This is a clarion call to action. This is our call to restore the progressive ideals of Bob and Belle Case La Follette to our state and to our nation. It is our call to restore the power and the promise of the middle class in America. It is our call to restore hope to hardworking middle-class families. And this is a tall order. For me, we must restore hope to those who have lost jobs, lost their homes, and been pushed into poverty, victims of bad trade deals and Wall Street gimmicks and political game playing. This is call time to prove to hardworking families that the American dream is not dead. It just needs rescuing from a bunch of folks who would do it ill. This is our call. This is our time, and we have not a minute to waste. From the snow-covered Capitol grounds to union halls and kitchen tables to small businesses and main streets, and ultimately to the ballot box, we must rally the troops. And we must fight on many fronts. We must fight to create jobs and put Wisconsinites back to work. We must fight to end the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, to bring our troops home safely, to care for those wounded in the war zones, to stand by their families who have sacrificed so much, and to never ever forget those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. We must fight to strengthen our economy by putting people back to work now, rebuilding our crumbling roads and bridges and schools. We must fight to end the tax cuts for billionaires and close those tax loopholes that help corporations shut down their U.S. factories and ship those jobs overseas. We fight for the rights of workers to organize and to bargain in good faith with their employers. We fight for fair trade that creates jobs here at home and keeps workers safe and the environment clean. And we fight for the right of health care for all, including women's reproductive health care. And we fight for equality for all citizens in this great nation. And we fight to keep unlimited amounts of secret money from unnamed sources out of our elections. And that includes the secret money from billionaire oil barons that have wanted to have their way here in our state of Wisconsin. And we fight to protect the right to vote without roadblocks or resistance, without fees and without fear. That is what we fight for. That is what I am fighting for day in and day out. My fellow progressives, do you join me in this fight? All right. When you see what's going on in Washington and in Madison, it's easy to think that most politicians just don't get it. Frankly, I assure you, many of them don't. As I've traveled around the state these past few months, my sort of recall tour of the state of Wisconsin, I've heard story after story about how Wisconsin families and communities are struggling in this economy. And many people feel that no one cares, that no one is listening to them. Well, I am listening, and I do care. And I'm standing up for you no matter how tough the odds or how powerful the special interests that we're fighting against. These are tough times for the middle class, very tough times. Jobs are hard to find. Many homes are worth less today than they were just a few years ago. Wisconsinites and people across our country are wondering if they'll ever be able to save enough to retire. Many young people are graduating saddled with debt and worrying about how long it will take them to pay off enormous student loans. Some people think that our best days are behind us. I am not one of them. We've been through tough times before, tougher times than we're facing right now, and we've made it through. As you've just heard from Bernie Sanders, the policy prescription is clear. We've got to put people to work right away, rebuilding our roads and bridges and schools. And we must help our returning veterans to be able to find work. And we have to help small businesses and entrepreneurs find the capital that they need to grow, expand, and create jobs. We've got to look out for our seniors, working families, and the middle class, rather than protecting the profits of big oil and Wall Street. We can't afford, and we shouldn't allow, tax bonuses for those who shut down our factories here and ship those jobs overseas. We should be rewarding those who make it in America and buy American and take advantage of the dedicated, inventive, overlooked, and underappreciated American workforce. By targeting the true drivers of our debt in the next decade, the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy, the wars overseas, and the effects of our recent recession, we can cut the debt and put Wisconsinites and other Americans back to work and restore our economic competitiveness. And we can grow and bolster and support and protect our middle class, which is the backbone of our economy. And we can rescue the American dream. Just a few months ago, I stood on the frozen Capitol grounds here in Madison with more than 100,000 of my fellow friends and citizens. I think many of you were there, or standing in solidarity with us in your hometowns across this state. And if you recall, the energy was absolutely amazing. But as we marched and chanted in the Capitol building and all around this state, as our 14 brave state senators were holed up in Illinois so that we could find our voice and use our voice, even during that time, people would come up to me and tap me on the shoulder and whisper in my ear, "Does what we're doing really matter? Are we really making a difference?" And I would answer with a resounding, "You're damn right we're making a difference. We're showing this state, we're showing this country, we're showing the world that this is what democracy looks like." My fellow progressives, I am so proud of all of you here today because this is what democracy looks like. This is our time. This is our time to stand together, to fight for hardworking, middle class, and struggling families. This is our time to fight for progressive values like hard work but fair play. If we are to prevail, no one can sit on the sidelines. over the next 15 months, you can count on me to give my heart and soul, my time and talents to the fight for this state's working families and middle class. Can I count on you? 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 Let's do it! Thank you.